Video 1. What are nation states? Hi everybody. Later on in the semester, I will tell you that globalization means that nation states lose their power and control. So before we can talk about globalization, we should talk about what nation states are. At any rate, nation states are very important to understanding how our world works and the literature within it, so it's worth taking time to understand this concept. In this video, I will define the term nation states, and in the next video, I will discuss the concept of nations as imagined communities by reading chapters from a book with you. Today, in the beginning of the 21st century, almost all of the world is controlled in one way or another by nation states. Israel is a nation state, the United States is a nation state, the United Kingdom is, though all of these are not perfect examples. France is a nation state, Italy, Jordan, China, the Philippines, Uganda, South Africa, Brazil, all nation states, just to give some random examples. Some are big, some are small, but all are nation states. And almost all of the globe, all of Earth is under national control. So what are they? What are nation states? Let's explain the easier term first, the easier word in this term first. A state in this phrase, nation state, means the official political entity that controls a certain territory. It's not the land itself, it's not the territory, and it's not the population, it's not the people living in that territory, but on the other hand, it is the organization that controls these people and this area and this space and this territory. So it's the government, the parliament, the courts, the public school system, the hospitals, the public hospitals. What does the state do exactly? Maybe it's easier to understand what it's supposed to do rather than what it is. The standard answer is that it is there to protect its citizens, the people who live there in that territory, and their rights, things that they should have no matter who they are. Thus, the two classic agents of the states are the military, that's supposed to protect you from outside threats, and the other agent of the state is the police, that is supposed to protect the citizens from any infringements on their rights and liberties. And they're protecting you from anybody who wants to take away your rights. So if you have rights for property, for having things, and somebody wants to come and steal that right, then that property, then the police should protect you. If you have a right to feel safe in your own home and you're being attacked, the police is supposed to be there to protect you and maintain order within the borders of that state. Some people see the state as actually not protecting all the citizens or all the people living there, but only those with power or with a certain privilege. An example we can see is when police only protect rich neighborhoods while harassing or even attacking poor people. Some will say that the state mostly keeps itself running. Really, the state is only there to protect the operation of the state. The bureaucracy is there to protect bureaucracy, to make more work for bureaucrats, for people who work in those offices. These critics would say that we spend money on the army because the army wants to be bigger, wants to be more important, so it asks for more money and creates the impression or the situation where citizens and the politicians feel that they have to give more money to the army in order to feel more protected. Not all states are nation states, though today most of them are. In the past, many cities were independent city-states, not nations, but cities. So the nation state is a fairly modern phenomenon. There were states before there were today's nation states. So I hope you understand more or less what a state is. Let's see what a nation is. What is a nation? A nation is a group of people. Here it's already not a territory, but the people who might live in a territory that believe that they have a common past, a common history, and share common circumstances because of this common origin. Maybe they imagine that they have a common forefather or that some kind of ancient leader brought them all together. Maybe it's less mythological and more historical, but they believe that they share a common history. They often share a common culture and a common language and live in the same territory. So, to take a random example, most Swedish people live in Sweden and speak Swedish, and they studied the same classic works of Swedish literature in high school and know how to make Swedish food. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And that common features, common experiences, common beliefs, and belief that they all come from the same group of original Swedes or were accepted into this group at some point, turns them into a nation. Not all nations have nation states. Not all nations are represented by states. Uh, Take the Kurds, for example. So the Kurds have a common origin, or at least believe that they do. They speak Kurdish, even if they live in an Arab or Turkish speaking country. They mostly live in the same region, apart from those who immigrated away from it. They live in the same region in the Middle East, but they don't have their own state. They are spread in territories that are separated between Syria, Turkey, and Iraq. So they feel that they are a nation. A lot of people accept them as a nation. They talk of themselves as a nation, but they don't have the state. However, many nations, and the way we think about nations usually today, do have states. The French have France, the Germans have Germany, the Thai have Thailand, the Chinese have China, and even if there are representatives of that nation spread throughout the world, we feel that this is the nation state that represents that nation. These states that belong to a nation are called nation states. As I said, these control most of the world today. Even if there are some larger structures and very few fit the definition perfectly. So the European Union is a larger structure. It's a union between different nation states. And if you go into the history of a lot of nations, you see that they are made up of people who do not believe that they are part of the nation. They have immigrants that maybe feel that they are only partially part of the nation. They speak the language, but they don't believe in a common origin. So there are very few perfect examples of nation states, but that's the idea. A state that controls a territory where a group of people believe that they have a common culture, a common past that brings them together to some extent. In this video, I gave you a short definition of nation and nation state together, but the issue of nation and what makes a nation is very complicated and is much less natural and automatic and preordained than we usually understand when we think about the French, the German. We think of them, yeah, they are something that exist, but they did not always exist as a nation. In the next video, I will read with you selections from Benedict Anderson's Imagined Communities in order to deepen on our understanding of what nations are.